Hello, everybody. Come on in. You're welcome to this Tuesday's think tank. And I'm delighted and honored to be presenting tonight on branding versus marketing. So if you're like many clients of ours and many photographers who I talk to, one of the questions that I hear most often is photographers saying, I'm fed up, Ronan, absolutely fed up with my first interaction with most potential clients, starting with, and what do you charge for? So if that's you, or if you've heard that before, then please stick with us for the next hour. And I hope to be able to explain to you some of the reasons why that is and come up with some solutions for you as to overcome that. So let's kick on and let's just share my screen and we get the party started. Okay, so what we're going to talk tonight about is branding versus marketing. And when I was doing some research around this today, in fact, just to get some slides together that will present this, obviously the research based here goes back years and years and years and years and years, from a lot of experience in both sales, marketing, and business. But I want to just to summarize, what's branding and what's marketing, because quite often, if you're like me, sometimes it can be a bit confusing, right? As to, we hear all this about it's important to have a brand and a brand that people associate with. And then we hear about it's important to be doing marketing. You say, well, what's marketing? Because there's so many aspects to marketing, right? Everything from new product or service development all the way through to having a logo, is your logo part your brand, or is that part of marketing, or where do they overconnect? So I found this. I thought it was really, really, really clever. So marketing is, you see the guy here, the silhouette of the guy saying to the girl, I'm a great lover. Yeah. So I'm talking about myself. I'm saying I'm a great lover. PR then, and PR can be either paid for or unpaid for. So PR can be where you actually hire an agency like the big brands do. And therefore you're paying for them to get you press coverage and everything else. Or it can be stuff you get on your own. So it can be PR where you send stuff out on social media. It can be where you send information of a qualification or an award you've won to a local newspaper or radio station. But it can also be your clients, right? Your client advocates, those clients who you're raving fans talking about you. That's also PR. So in this case, you see a woman telling another woman, trust me, he is a great lover. So that's much more powerful, isn't it, than the guy telling the woman that he's a great lover, when someone else endorses that and says it for you. And then advertising can be the brand or the person saying, I'm a great lover, I'm a great lover, I'm a great lover. They just repeat over and over and over what they are. Yeah. And that has changed a little bit with social media, hasn't it? Because now there can be a two-way conversation. Well, if we go back before social media, it was very much a one-way conversation. So it was brands, broadcasting on radio, on TV, whatever, what they could do for the other person. And then branding is when your ideal clients, so we call ideal clients, ideal client gold. Yeah, so client gold. So when your client gold says, I understand you're a great lover. So this, I think, captures the various aspects of the job we have to do as small business owners. But it's difficult when you're a small business owner, right? Like, and many photographers I talk to, sometimes it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 people and a lot of solopreneurs. So, and we, like my company, we have 30 people, still a very, very small company, but we struggle with getting all this done. So sometimes we have to make choices, don't we? We have to make choice about what are we going to concentrate and what are we going to do. So I want to just lay the foundation with the next couple of slides, just to bring you into the world of what we're going to talk to, just to plant the foundation as to what I'm going to build my opinion based on research, not just on research, but what's actually happening in the marketplace, so that you have a true understanding of what's driving this. Because I often was confused, and I've done all my base. I've done a lot of training in marketing, both digital marketing, online marketing. I did my master's in the marketing area, and my last master's 9 or 10 years ago. But still, there's that old saying, isn't it, about marketing and branding, that 50% of it works, 50% of it doesn't work. If we could only figure out the 50% that worked, wouldn't that be great? So branding, it's both an art and a science. It's an art in that quite often you're not quite sure why something worked, but it can be a science too, because there can be data and numbers to back it up, especially when we come to social media advertising. You know, we can see the numbers, the data to back it up. But what is branding? So branding is people's perceptions of your business. And this is really important because it's not your perception. It's their perception of your business. And quite often, if you ask them for an opinion of your business, most people are polite and they don't want to cause you any offense. So quite often they don't tell you exactly what they actually think, but you can be certain that they tell others. They tell others about their experience with your business. And the reality, therefore, is what they actually say to others about you and your business. Yeah, because as solopreneurs and small businesses, we are a business, right? And you know, we are the face of our business pretty much all the time. So what they say about us and our business is the reality. And the other thing about brand is when someone mentions you or your brand to them, what their first impression is. So let me take an example of this. So let's say you're out with a friend and you're having dinner. Sorry, you're in the pub. The pubs are open again. You're in the pubs and you're having a pint, right, with your friend, and you turn to them and you start telling them about a great restaurant you had a meal in. So if they had also eaten that restaurant, they would have an initial impression once your business name is mentioned. And in this final piece, and this is where the emotional piece comes in. Yeah, we all know that people make buying decisions on emotion and then justify it with logic later. But it's the emotional piece that's important here. So what feeling do your clients have having gone through a photographic experience with your business? Okay. So I'm going to reference a couple of books here. You know, I think what I do best is, you know, I get some information here and some information here and some research here, and I try and connect all the dots. In my organization, that's what they try and get me to do most of the time, because that's about the only thing I'm good at. I'm absolutely useless at most things, but I'm actually able to join the dots and things. And this piece that you see in front of you now is from a book called Brand Now by Nick Westergaard. So I consider you just to read this to give you a great understanding of what a brand is, how it's different in marketing, but how it can overlap with the marketing function as well and how they overlap. And he's brought this down into your core brand DNA. The next piece out then is the products that you offer and the service that you offer. Then you have an analog or a static intervention with clients. So if you go to a BNI meeting, that's a static intervention. Then if you're interactive digital, which can be everything from your social media presence, your social media marketing, to your website, all that interactive digital interaction with potential clients, existing clients, past clients. And then the final piece then is the bonus. And quite a lot of people miss this piece. So what's the bonus? How are you going to surprise and delight those clients that come through your business? And then the 5 senses and more. So we know we have 5 senses as humans. So what do you do to appeal to those 5 senses? So let me give you a simple example of that. So if you have the coffee on before a client comes in, and the area that they come into is full of a coffee smell. Most people love the smell of coffee, right? So that's using the senses just for them to feel at home and know they're going to be welcomed with some coffee. So that's an example of using the senses. We use it in packaging too, yeah, where we might wrap up a folio box or an album or a piece of wall art, and they have to go through the process of opening, and there's sound and there's touch, and again, we're appealing to the senses. Okay, so how does that translate then? And how does that interact with marketing? So before we do that, let's just discuss what marketing is. So, and the favorite word I have in this slide is the action of promoting and selling products and service. The action. You have to take some action for it to be marketing. And marketing includes both market research and advertising. So that's the definition of marketing as defined. So it's the action of promoting and selling the products and services. And the other really important word in there is selling. So quite often people think that marketing has nothing to do with sales. We'll see a little bit later, there's everything to do with sales and how they are intertwined like this. Because, you know, I've been around corporates for a very long time, and quite often there's this, what's the word I would use? I think it's this, sometimes the marketing department believe they're above the sales department. Yeah, that they're better than the sales department. But really they only function if they're like that. Because the marketing function in a sales scenario is about generating the lead. And in the sales function is about closing that lead into a client. And the customer service is about ensuring that client's really happy. And the three combine then to make that client come back over and over and over again. Yeah. So we're going to deep dive. It's important to understand that term of marketing, because a lot of people think marketing is just advertising. Yeah. But it's actually the best marketing is actually a marketing sales activity. I actually put them the same. So even if you've seen before my calculators for how many leads you need to do, you know, it's a sales and marketing ratio. We look at the total process of your business. And because again, most of us are small businesses, you know, we are both. We are often the marketing and the sales piece. Yeah. Okay. And then we all know the power of storytelling. You know, we'll talk about Donald Miller in a couple of minutes, but there's other great leaders in this area too, who have shown us, you know, all the way back to 1956, when we had the hero's journey. That was the start of understanding the importance of story. And like when we go back in time, and you know, we find a cave where the cave people lived when we used to live in caves all those millennia ago. You know, they used story. They had their writing on the wall of the story. You know, the story was really, really important. We also know from Donald Miller that it's about the hero, isn't it? It's the hero of your story is not you or your business. It has to be your client. And you are merely the guide. You are the guide to the story. And the same in the hero's journey. You know, it's all about the hero. You are the guide. If for those of you who are Star Wars fans, you know, you're the Yoda, and your client is Luke Skywalker. So if we can just think about that and just absorb that, because quite often when we write on our website, or I see messaging on websites or landing pages, it's all about how great your business is. You know, typical example of that, when I see other small businesses, say, who are in industrial manufacturing, and you go to the website and there's a big picture of their premises. Who cares? Because that's not about your client, is it? Your client wants to know within a couple of seconds, what can you do for them? They actually don't care about us as the business owners or you as the photographer at this stage. They're really looking, what can you do for me? And then your client has to go through this atonement or success. So they have to, you know, when you see it in the movies, and Donald Miller talks again a lot about this, about you know, the hero, it looks like they don't believe in themselves, they're not going to make it. It looks like it's all going to go pear-shaped, and then eventually they figure it all out, they get self-confidence in themselves, and they make it happen. So again, you know, you got to have a look at that and understand that your client is looking for that. What success can you bring them? And then what transformation, because at the end of that, like in the hero's journey, there's a transformation for your client. After the client goes through your photographic experience in your studio and they buy those relationships that are on the wall in a folio box or in an album, you know, they have been transformed as a result of that. What is that transformation? Okay. So we know the power of story. We've already talked about Donald Miller, who wrote Story Brand, you know, and his key thing is about your client being the hero. You know, that's the main message that he has come up with, that he puts out there. And the hero's journey with Campbell, Patrick A. Campbell talks about that in 1956, but Miller sort of managed to bring that into the present, yeah, that messaging into the present, and how to do that. But one of the things he talks about all the time is this idea that, you know, for a small to medium-sized company, being preoccupied with branding is a waste of time and money. And that really only the global brands should be considering spending money from their marketing budget on branding. So how does that translate to us for a small business? Because when Donald Miller's talking about this, he actually gives an example of a company that had $100 million turnover, right? You know, that's a long way up for us as our business of 30 people. You know, that's a business of 500 plus people probably. And when you consider that, you know, that he went into them and their sales were flatlining, you know, they just were flatlining and starting to go down. This is pre-pandemic. And when he sat down with them, he says, your problem is your marketing budget and how you're allocating it between branding and marketing that sells. And you need to sort that. Forget all that branding stuff. You're not big enough. Don't be worried about that. You're not Coca-Cola. Don't mean to be disrespectful, but you're not. So let's move that marketing budget into marketing that actually sells. So if that's relevant for a company of that size, what does that mean for us? We've already talked about as solopreneurs and small businesses, you know, we don't have a lot of time. We're busy people. You know, we don't have big departments that can do all these things. So we have to be choosy about what we do and how we do it. Okay, so I wanted to give you that background before we go on. But those of you who know me and have seen me before, I talk about this all the time. And that's the importance about when you're looking at anything you're doing, to wear your client's shoes and to view it by the eyes of your customer, or I prefer to use the word client. Yeah. So when you're thinking about anything, but how do you do that? You know, what's the process to do that? And one of the best processes to do it is to consider your sales process from your client's perspective, which is effectively your sales process is their buying process, right? And this was research I did for my master's 10 years ago when I was looking at just one step in this process. But it's really important to understand this before we deep dive now into your marketing, your branding, how they connect and what you should be concentrating on due to the limited time we have. So the first step in this is awareness. So what's awareness? Awareness is that your client is not yet aware they need your service. So they don't know yet that they want a professional photographer to take their family portrait. Yeah, they're not aware of it yet. The next step in the buyer's process is when they become aware that they need something, they generally try to build their knowledge about it. They want to know a bit, so they start to do some research. And typically that research now is on the internet. And then they get to the stage of the consideration stage. And that is, they've done their research and they've identified the potential photographers who might be able to fulfill their need. And they're considering, who should I go to? The next stage then is the selection process. And for many of us, that is actually booking the session for them to come into the studio to experience the photographic session where you're capturing those relationships. And then when they come back, then they come back for the sales session where you're presenting the images, and then they're either buying them. You might be presenting them using IPS projection or a TV, or you might be doing a reveal or a secret box reveal. It doesn't really matter, but that's the next piece. And the next stage is actually a piece that's missed often by most businesses. And that is, after the client buys, they're really only a trial. And that's why I love that word trial being used here. Because yes, they bought, and often as the seller, we think, job done, right? But the client stage in their buying process is determining, are they satisfied with what they've bought? So are they satisfied with the product, or are they satisfied with the service that they've had from the money they've spent? And a lot of businesses miss out on checking for that. You know, was the client satisfied? So how many of you phone the client a week after you install the wall art, or they collect it from your studio or their album, or how many of you make contact a week after to say, just checking in that everything's worked out okay and the wall art's worked and it looks well and you're happy with everything? You know, that's a really important thing. But what does that do? 99% of businesses don't do that. So if you do that straight away, it's making you different, isn't it? And it's showing that you care. It wasn't all about just getting the money. And therefore, you're reinforcing for that client that they made the right decision. And the next piece then is loyalty. So that's when the client starts to come back, right? Over and over again. And the final stage is advocacy. So do you remember we went back to the PR and we talked about free PR? So this is where the client now is absolutely telling everybody how wonderful you and your business is. Then they become an advocate. And it's really hard to get an advocate until you go through all these steps with a potential client. Okay. So let's move on. So I talked about connecting dots, and excuse my fussy writing, but we try and record in our business everything on whiteboards. And we have this specifically so anyone can go on at any one time and change one out. This is just our board on our wall in our office when we're there. We haven't been there for a while, but COVID, we're all working from home. Anyone who can, just our production people who are working in the factory. But this is a board where we can go up and we can change anything anytime we want. We can add to it, we can take from it, any of the client-facing people, or indeed anyone in our operations or wherever, if they all know about this, and if they want to make a change or add something to it, they can do so. So we've taken Westergaard's, Nick Westergaard, the brand now is sort of DNA. We've taken what we know about this client buying process. We've also layered on top of this a wonderful book, Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman is the book. And he goes through the steps, and we've sort of layered all this together to come up with, you know, what our core brand DNA is, what our marketing communications is, the physical pieces that we do, the interactive online, what do we do for sensory. Because we've 30 people in our organization, we think about employee orientation and organization and how that fits into this. And then we look at the Joey Coleman stages of the buyer, which is the assess, the admit, the affirm, the activate, the acclimate, the accomplish, the adopt, and the advocate stage. So I'm going to go into each one of those, but you'll see here, the point I want you to learn from this is by layering these things together, you start to build a total picture of the client's buying process. And when you layer this on top of that, you start to get a feeling then and a greater understanding wearing your client's shoes or your potential client's shoes and seeing through their eyes as to what your business looks like. So we find that a great help in our business. And I know many photographers who followed us over the last number of years and have seen various aspects of this do this too. Okay, so this is interesting. How many of you have panned for gold before? Go on, put your hands up or say hello or do something just to tell us if you have. If you've panned for gold before, one of the things you will know for panning for gold, and even if you watch the old movies, yeah, the old cowboy movies, you will know that quite often they don't know the difference between gold, real gold, and pyrite, which is fool's gold, is another name for it, you know. But the real difference is that real gold, it shines in any light, yeah. While pyrite glistens. The other thing about real gold is that it's heavier than pyrite, but it's also softer. So you know in those old films, you see the guys, you know, when they were panning for gold and they'd put their tooth through and but you know, just to see, was it soft? That was testing to see, was it pyrite or was it real gold? And the reason why I'm telling you this story is that the same is relevant to your clients. So I like to call your ideal client, client gold. And I like to call then anybody who's not an ideal client, pyrite. Yeah. And we're going to use this analogy now as we deep dive in a little bit further to try and connect all the dots and all of this stuff and bring it together into something that hopefully makes a bit more sense. And as part of that, you know, one of the questions that I hear most photographers complaining about, what do you think it is? Go on, have a lash on it, put it in the chat or put it in the messenger. What do you think is one of the most common business questions that I get? Hopefully you've answered, yeah? Even if you just said it out loud to yourself, that's fine. Just say it out loud to yourself. Well, this is it. It's utter frustration that the client opens with the question, what do you charge for? What do you charge for? Yeah. And I'm sure you've heard this. I've heard it in our business, you know, from photographers. And when I do, I know I failed. I know I failed when I hear that question. But quite often, any inquiry we get by email or that you get by text or messenger, it probably starts with that. And the real question is, why is that? Why are you getting that question? And I don't think anyone has come up with this term, but I call it fluffy marketing. So what do I mean by fluffy marketing? Well, what I mean by fluffy marketing is that it's marketing that attracts the buyer when they're in a certain state. And we've talked already about how we've limited resources and time to spend on marketing. So what I hope to do now is to present to you what fluffy marketing is, what the end result is, and then I'm going to link it to the buyer's process, their journey, to hopefully make sense of this for you. Because I think it's probably one of the most important concepts I've ever understood after 30 years in business. It took me a long time and a lot of learning, a lot of experience to connect all these dots on this piece. And what I call fluffy marketing is an action with your client that starts from a Google search. So we hear a lot about the importance of blogging and SEO and Google AdWords and website design, right? And all those things are designed either to, when your client is searching for a service like yours, that you're appearing in a Google AdWord in front of them, that you're organically ranked with your SEO to be high enough that you're in the first 3 places. And then you spend so much time agonizing about your website design. So when they get there, that you make a connection. And I hear all the time, and I help photographers with some of this stuff, but it's not the best use of limited time for marketing. It's a nice to have as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to give you evidence of that in a couple of minutes. But before we go there, when I mention the term fluffy marketing, I'm talking about anything you do in your marketing that when your client is in their buying stage of already aware that they need a photographer, it's that marketing activity that's putting your name in front of that client. And just before we move on, I'm not saying you don't need to do this. What I'm saying is quite often photographers that I talk to are 90% of their marketing time is going into this stuff when it shouldn't. And it gets back to what Donald Miller was talking about too, in terms of, is your marketing selling? Is your marketing actually functioning as a sales piece? And the next piece will make perfect sense to you, because we all know that there's 2 sides to the brain. We know that there's the left logical side of the brain and there's the right emotional. And many, many educators, teach us the process in our studio to either put our client into an emotional state, because we know that people buy with emotion, and the more emotional they are, the more they spend. While if they're in that logical state, they're going to spend less. Yet with our marketing, our client, when they come to buy from us, if we're spending all of our time doing SEO and blogging, they're not in an emotional state. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Before we do that, this is where I now link the pyrite to the client gold. So the pyrite inquiry you get will always start with that price question we talked about a little bit earlier. It'll always start with, what do you charge for? And the reason for that links back to the client's buying decision. So all of the work you do on getting the perfect website, creating the perfect blog, blogging continuously, having your SEO absolutely worked out, doing your Google AdWords, is designed to attract your client when they're doing a Google search, which means they're at the consideration stage of the buying process. So what does that mean? It means they're already aware that they need you. So in the case of the portrait photographer for a family, they've made up their mind that they want to hire a portrait photographer to take their family. They've gone around and they've researched and searched on Google, and they've went to all the websites and they've tried to figure out which photographer they want. And then they enter into that logical state of, oh, I've looked at 3 photographers now that I like. I wonder who's the cheapest. And that's why you get that inquiry, which I call a pyrite inquiry quite often, into what do you charge for? So hopefully that's making some sense. And I've explained that clear enough. Okay. So, Ronan, so what you're saying then, if I need to focus on marketing for selling, and that many of action marketing activities capture my client in a logical state of mind, i.e. my blogging, my SEO, getting my website perfect and all that. And if that's not the solution to attract my client in a non-logical state, what's the solution? Let me share with you what the solution is. And the solution is actually marketing funnels. So I know businesses that do nothing else but run their businesses, and these are businesses that are turning over 50, 75, $100 million, who all they concentrate on doing is marketing funnels. I know photographers, and in fact, one of our mentors, Brad Bulmer of Stan Plus Stan, hasn't touched his website for years, but he is full all year round with higher paying clients because he runs his marketing funnels. So many of you may be asking, so what's a marketing funnel? So what a marketing funnel is, sorry about that. So what a marketing funnel is it's a Facebook ad that a potential client sees in their feed, either on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or depending which the platform is, and that offers them some value. So you might use some lead magnets, or it might be to enter, register to win, or it could be a gift or purchase. There's a whole lot of different funnels, but there's something in it for them to leave Facebook, if it's Facebook, to go onto your landing page where they fill in their email details to either register to win, or to get the lead magnet, or to be in with a chance to be one of the first people in to get the gifted purchase, or whatever that might be. And then there's a sequence then of retargeting on Facebook for any clients who don't convert in the initial visit to the landing page, and also a series of emails in that retarget them. So that's sort of what a funnel is, but we're not going to get hung up on that, because we'll explain that in a little bit more detail, because what I want to get across here is why it works. So I want you to imagine you're on Facebook. So you're on Facebook. And what are you doing on Facebook? When you're on Facebook and you're scrolling, yeah, what you're doing is you're catching up, right, on your friends and your colleagues. Some people use it to spy on people, but whatever you use it for, yeah, you're on it and you're scrolling. You are not in a state where you're in a logical state where you're searching for a potential solution to a problem you have, like when you go onto your Google where you're searching. So an advertiser on Facebook is capturing you before you even start the buying process we talked about, and are making you aware that you have that need. So let's go back to the example of the portrait photographer, the family portrait photographer. So the family portrait photographer is using a funnel, is putting in an advert that connects with their client, their potential clients, to say, you need to consider a family portrait session. Click here to learn more or find out more. And they bring them to a landing page where they qualify that client, and then they bring them through their process to identify. Now think about that, how that's different. So how it's different is that photographers who do this well, they have to bring up the price question with their client rather than the client leading with that, because they capture them so early in the process that the client doesn't go through their own buying process and do all the research as to who the potential photographers are. Yeah. And therefore they are connecting with that client early enough in the buying process that the photographer doesn't even consider anybody else. So I hope that makes sense. So let's just move on. If there's any question at any stage, guys, just ask the question, right? And we'll answer the question. So with your marketing funnels, you are making the client aware while they're in an emotional state, scrolling Facebook. When your advert stops them, you're capturing their attention at that stage of the process, and is therefore much more likely to be client gold than the person who has done all their research, has built their knowledge, become aware themselves, are considering who's best for them, switch into logical mode, and therefore lead with the question, what do you charge for? And for me, and for many photographers who we've helped, and other small business that we've helped, this is a key understanding of where you should spend your marketing time that is not bountiful. Because as solopreneurs, we're doing everything, right? And we're doing everything in our business. So it's important that the time we spend on anything, on our marketing, that's going to deliver us the greatest result. And what I'm saying to you is mastering your marketing funnels will give you the greatest result of any other marketing you can do. I'm sure some of you there are going, that's fine, Ronan. Yeah, but is this an untested theory of yours? Show me the proof. And hopefully you're saying that, because that's what I would ask. Show me the proof, Ronan. Show me that what you're saying actually works, not only for the other businesses you work for, and that Jonathan works for, but that it works in photography. Because quite often we think that our industry is different, don't we? And we think that our industry is like no others, and what works over there will never work in photography. But that's not true. It does work. And I think April is with us tonight. So April is a seasoned marketeer. And she started using her funnels. She's just come on to the thing there to say, I know it works. And April, in her very first funnel, she gathered a whole load of leads, 349 leads, 25 paying sessions, and she spent $500. Now that return on investment is really, really high. You just do the numbers on that. She still had more to content at that stage. But she is a seasoned marketeer in our industry, in our photography industry. And she's done all the other stuff. She's done the Google ads and the blogging and the Twitter and the Pinterest, and nothing has worked for her quite like this. Renata in the UK, because I hear again, oh, that'll work in the US, it'll never work here in the UK. This works anywhere, guys. People are the same everywhere with regards to their buying process. Yes, there's little cultural differences in how do you phrase stuff and all that. But overall, the principle of the process we go through as humans in buying is all the same. We're all wired the same up here. We are all wired the same up here. So Renata, again, seasoned marketeer in the UK as a photographer, and she had exactly the similar experience to April, but this worked for her. Here then, we have Alex, who actually came to BSA, and she'd done a good bit of Facebook before, and she'd done some funnels before. But again, in putting the proper funnel and structures in place, she'd start to get an increased ROI on her spend on Facebook. And then we have David, exactly the same. Yeah, so you can see here, here's examples now from the UK, and we've examples from different parts of the US. It's all the same. So I hope that sort of gets you to believe that this can work for you in your business. If you're a photographer, if you get nothing else from this, even if you don't do it with BSA and you don't become a member of BSA, that's fine. That's not what this webinar is about. This webinar is about, I just want you to go and do this. And that links back to the reason why I do what I do, which we'll talk about at the very end. But I've heard this a lot too, yeah? You wouldn't believe the number of photographers said to me, Ronan, I run a high-end studio. It's never going to work for me. Any inquiry I ever get from Facebook is for somebody looking for everything for nothing. Probably just looking for the digitals for nothing, in fact, is probably what I hear most. But that's not true either when it's done right. And I just want to shout out to Misty. Misty came to BSA not that long ago. Very, very quickly start to adapt the BSA Pan for Client Gold funnels into our business. And only the other day, after only a short time, has generated $10,000 worth of sales already in a matter of a couple of weeks. And her last sale from a competition winner was $3,800. Now, some of you might say, no, I'm on $10,000. Do you know what? The vast majority of photographers I would love to be getting sales at $3,800. And this system can be used for sales at that level too, You just need to adapt the funnels in a certain way for certain reasons. You have to spend a little bit more, in fact, but that's okay if you're getting the higher sale too. So shout out to Misty. She has made her 10,000 club. So she's already had 10,000 worth of sales. She's on her way to 50,000. She will get to the 100,000 club as well. She's well on her way to that. She'll be there, I would say, before 12 months is out, she'll be in the 100,000 club. So well done, Misty. And I can't wait when we're in a position to award you your 100,000 club badge. Okay, Ronan, okay, you've convinced me. Let's have a look. What is then, you're talking about this pan for client goal marketing funnels, you know, what is this? And I go back to the pan for client goals, yeah? So I'm going to explain one of the funnels to you. And we have various funnels that we'll go into in a couple of minutes. But I just want to show you this to show you how it's different as well. Because a lot of people who see this first, they go, oh, Ronan, that's a competition funnel, you know, that's, and most competition funnels that some educators teach, you know, they have one winner and maybe some runner-ups. That's how you get them into the business. This is different. Why is this different? This is structured so that you can identify what's gold from Pyrite, fool's gold, but also everyone who meets your criteria of being gold is a winner. So it's completely different. So this is one of the most successful funnels our clients use. And it works for a photographer at any average order value. And here's how it works, and here's the system. So obviously, before you write any copy, the first step is you got to know who your client goal is. So you hear this before with other educators. You'll hear things like, know who your ideal client is, know who your client avatar is. Yeah. So when I'm talking about identify your client goal, I'm saying know who your client goal is. Why is that important? It's important that if you're going to connect with that client in your landing pages and in your adverts, you need to be able to visualize them. You need to write to them like you would a love story. So if you're writing a love story, if you ever, like me, when I was a young teenager, tried to write poems to people, very sad, I know. You know, you had a visualization of that person when you wrote that, right? And the same comes to your ad copy. To connect, you need to, as a human, you need to be able to visualize who they are. Then you got to make sure you're armed with the right kit, yeah? So if you're panning for gold, if you don't bring the right kit, you have no chance. If you don't have your pan, you don't have your boots to stay dry in the creek, and you don't have a shovel to lift your pay dirt, and you don't have your sieve to do that initial working through to identify what's pyrite, and that tends to be bigger rocks, and the gold tends to be smaller bits. And if you don't have all that kit, you're not going to do it. And the same applies to building your funnels online and all those systems. You've got to have the right equipment. The second thing then you've got to do is you've got to have your pay dirt collection bucket. So what's that? So for those of you pan for gold, you know, you find the gold is heavy, so it's within the silt and dirt. It tends to be in where the water is not running and it gets lodged behind big boulders. And what you do first is you've got your shovel to get that pay dirt out, yeah, and put it into a pay dirt bucket is what they call it, people who pan for gold. And in that bucket then is the muck, and in there is the gold somewhere. So when you do your advert on Facebook, which is like your shovel, yeah, so your advert, bring them off Facebook onto your landing page, which is your pay dirt bucket, you're attracting people to your landing page, and there will be dirt and pyrite in there as well as gold, yeah. And when you're panning for gold, quite often you will consider which mountain should you pan on, and you'll do your research, and not only will you find the right mountain, you will find, you know, the creek that is likely to have the gold in there. And the gold rush, all those hundreds of years ago, you know, in the Wild West when that was happening, you know, they used to hear where was the best place to go panning for gold, and they say, oh no, it's up there in that creek, or it's up there. So same applies to panning for client gold with your social media marketing. You know, you've got to figure out where is that client gold, you know, what traffic do they use. So for example, Facebook is the biggest mountain of traffic, yeah. Most of our clients are there for photography. So your weddings, your newborns, the parents of your high school seniors, they're all on Facebook. Your high school senior then is on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok now. However, if you are a commercial photographer, your client may be on LinkedIn. If you're a headshot photographer, your client may be on LinkedIn. Doesn't mean they're not on Facebook as well, but LinkedIn might be the mountain that you need to pan for ideal client goals on. Yeah. So understanding your mountain is important. Where you're going to go. The shovel that we talked about for lifting the pay dirt is your advert. So that's the advert we put on Facebook to bring them out of Facebook onto our landing page. And then we classify the client goal pay dirt. So do you remember I talked about this being different than a competition funnel? How this is different is we use questioning on our register to win funnel to determine how emotionally attached a client is to undergo a family portrait session. And how you know that then is, so in the same way as you take your pay dirt out of the bucket and you put it into a sieve and you end up with rocks that contain pyrite, yeah, and the gold goes down into the into the next bucket that we'll pan later for the gold. The same applies to your landing page, yeah, and we use those questions to classify. And when we ask those questions, we get everything from, I just want some free pics, pyrite, right, fool's gold, to people telling you their life story. They have a connection, they have relationships that they want to capture in photographic art. That's ideal client gold. So everyone who meets your criteria, when you go through the people who enter to register to win funnel, in this case, then you're going through that then to pan for ideal client gold by looking at those answers. But just like when you're panning for gold and you find that initial gold and you pick it out, there will be other golds, smaller pieces within that pay dirt. So we don't throw that pay dirt out, yeah, when we pan for client gold. It's called concentrate, in fact, not pay dirt. So we've put the pay dirt through, we've taken out the pyrite, we've panned for gold, we found the initial gold, and then there's the concentrate that's left. We put that concentrate into a bucket because we don't want to spend time on the mountain when we're panning for gold, looking for smaller pieces of gold. You want to spend that time looking for the bigger stuff. But we don't throw it out. We bring it home, and at the weekends then, when we have some more time, we can pan that concentrate to find more gold. So the same happens here in that those people you don't throw out that's in your concentrate. What you do is you put them into your nurturing sequence, because you know, and I know, and all the research tells us that of all the leads you generate, 50% will never buy no matter what you do. 50% will buy at some stage. But of that 50% who will buy at some stage, only 15% of them will buy now. The other 85% will buy between 3 months and 2 years, based on research across all industries. That's always been the same, even before social media. Yeah, when I started in sales first, one of the lessons we were told is be consistent, keep going. And the salesperson at the time who contacted more than 10 times was less than 5% of salespeople. And they were the most successful salespeople. So the same here is with the nurturing. And we put them into our email sequence where they get our weekly email, and eventually they're ready to buy. In fact, we had one today, a new client at 3XM. She signed up to 3XM 3 years and 7 months ago. My marketing manager just put it literally before I came on live. 3 years and 7 months ago, and she bought today. So there's an example. Yeah. But she's been getting our emails and our nurturing and everything else, and now she's ready to buy. So you have to be, that was more than 2 years. Yeah. But if you're in a 2-year frame, that's where we need to think about. Okay. So here's an example of our register to win funnel. And I just wanted to walk you through that process so you understand what the process is and what it's about. Here's a key thing, and here's probably some of the other things. So in our register to win funnel, when somebody enters, they have to be phoned, right? They have to be phoned to convert to a booking. And a lot of people get upset at this stage because they go, oh, I'm not doing telesales. No, that's spam on phone. I'm not doing that. That's just not right. And it's important to understand this is not telesales. The client in this case wants to hear from you. because they now know they're a winner when you call them. And there's various techniques too that you can apply to ensure that they do answer your call when you phone too. But it's not telesales. What you've got to do is you've got to picture that phone as money. Yeah, because that phone call is worth money. So one of the analogies that Janine, one of our mentors, used in BSA is she says she actually sticks $100 bill or imagines $100 bill on the phone. So every time she picks it up to phone a potential ideal client, she is picturing it as $100 bill. Yeah, just that phone call, to get that booking deposit or registration deposit. All right. Okay, so we talked about the register to win funnel. The register to win funnel is just one of numerous funnels that you get access to in Business Success Academy. So we have a register to win. We also have our gift to purchase funnel. So gift to purchase funnel is where the offer is a gift of some kind if they purchase now. So again, Janine, she does wizard portraits and she does team portraits. One of her gift on her gift to purchase funnel was for the first 10 people who booked a session, they got a free wand for the kid. Yeah. If you think about McDonald's use this all the time, don't they? You have the children who want to go to McDonald's for the Happy Meal to get the toy. Yeah. That's like Janine's wand for other things. And there's various ways. We encourage you not to have a product that's necessarily linked to photography. Try and think outside the box a bit and bring something else into it. We also then have our direct offer funnel. So direct offer funnel is that when you buy now, there's limited availability. You're using scarcity to encourage that buy there and then. So sometimes and often there may be a discount built in there too. But if you can do it in a way, if it's driven by a date or it's driven by scarcity, and you can combine those two things too. So give me an example of that, Ronan. What are you talking about? So what I'm talking about is where it's difficult to do that with is with portraiture. There are photographers who can do this really, really well, but it's more difficult. What's easier to do it is if there's something that's time bound, that's going to happen. So let's take an example. Let's say Mother's Day. Mother's Day is on a day and it's a special treat for Mother's Day and it has to happen on that day. Yeah. Santa's Grotto. It has to happen by a certain day. If I don't do it before Christmas or before the holiday season, it's gone. Yeah, until next year. So there's an example then of how you can do that. And there's various other ones you can use too. There's a lead gen funnel. Lead gen is where you give some value. You've all seen this. Click here to get my guide on the 7 ways to look great in your wedding portraits, or the 5 essential things to think about when considering safety when booking your newborn photographer. They're all lead gen magnets. So you're bringing them into your world where they're getting some value in return for their email address. And most of those clients convert later in the process. They won't convert there and then, buy there and then. And then there's a whole of other funnels that we have, messenger funnels and challenge funnels. And we're constantly coming up with new funnels to help photographers. But you actually don't need a whole lot of funnels. You actually only need 3. If you have 3 funnels that you can turn on and off in your business at any different time, you will fill your calendar and diary all year long with higher paying clients. If you're interested in more of this, consider joining BSA, Business Success Academy. Business Success Academy, for us, there's three stages to being successful in anything. And if you relate this back to when you learned your photography skills, it's the same. You get knowledge through training. So the training gives you the knowledge you need. You get support through mentorship. So quite often when you become a photographer, you do the training and then you hire a mentor to advise you and help you. And then there's accountability. So most of you are in mastermind groups. We do that through community in BSA. So for me, if one of those legs is missing, you're more likely to fail than if all 3 are there. So that's why when we put together BSA, we've tried to encourage that. But we've also, some of you I'm sure are saying, so fine for you to say, Ronan, but you've never ran a photography business. And you're right, I haven't. But business is the same the principles of business are the same regardless of the business. And what I can tell you is I built a number of 7-figure businesses using marketing funnels. So if I even just take our 3XM brand, you know, it's sold into 42 countries last year. I don't spend a lot of time going to trade shows. We go to a number, a few select ones each year, but most of our sales is done with online marketing and nurturing online. And we capture our clients there. But I understand that's important that you have a photographer perspective. So 2 of the mentors in BSA are 2 photographers doing this every day. And one of them is Brad Bulmer. He's in the UK. And Brad is the first person within BSA to generate more than $1 million, to enter the $1 million club, where from his funnels, his Pan for Client Goal funnels, he has developed over the last number of years over £1 million worth of business. And then Janine, who only started doing funnels last October, and she worked with Jonathan, another of our mentors in BSA. Janine was, she's well on the road to getting to that 100,000 figure. So this can be done. It can be done in any country. It can be done. What it needs from you is some focus and some dedication and some realization that this is the best use of your time if your end goal is to fill your studio with higher paying clients. Okay. So before I'm going to take any questions you have now, if you would like to join BSA and the team of photographers worldwide who are collectively amplifying the creation of a healthier society through photography, then I encourage you to join us in BSA. And I'll share a link in the chat in a couple of minutes. I'm going to stop my screen now in a second and take the questions. And as part of that, I will share the link. If you want to join us for a free 14-day trial, you can come in and decide whether we're right for you or not. And see what other photographers are doing. We've made it easy for you to take the funnels, copy and paste them, make them your own and change them to whatever you want. But the reason why we do this is, as a business, is for those of you who know me well, they know I've been talking for years and years and years about the difference photographers make. The difference that photography makes to society, that it makes society healthier in mind, body, and spirit in 3 ways. Primarily, we do it that a simple smile that most of our work results in, we know through biology, creates endorphins in the body that reduces the stress, and a reduced stress population is healthier in body. Absolutely proven, based on biology. This is not Ronan talking, this is fact. And when I talk to photographers and I talk to end clients, you know, they tell me that that's the end result that a lot of clients do. They either smile with a tear of joy every time they see it, or they smile when they interact with those forever and ever and ever again. So the work you do as a photographer is never more important than now. There's a lot of scars in our society caused by COVID and other things, and relationships have never been more important. You know, what this pandemic has taught us is, you know, to appreciate what's really important in life. So the work you do has never been more vital in our lifetime as it is now. The second way we do it is, we know from people who undergo photography that they feel empowered by it. You know, we see this a lot by women who do fashion makeover shoots, glamour shoots, even boudoir. Yeah, that it empowers them, that they feel better about themselves. But that doesn't just stop with women. We all feel when we see ourselves looking the best that we are, that you capture us and our relations with other people, that it makes us feel empowered as well. And the third way, and this is proven in research too, that children who are growing up, the important people in our society, that when they are exposed to the relationships in photographic art, on walls, in albums, in folio boxes, that they have a higher self-esteem, all proven. So the end result of what we do as an industry is really, really important. So I know that I can't take a photograph, I can't even take a selfie, but what I do know is I know business, and I know that the products that we develop to help you increase your sales, the software we help to drive sales and increase the satisfaction of your client by interacting with those images, the training that we put on to help photographers amplifies your success. And by us being your guide and helping you to amplify your success means more photographic art is enjoyed by humanity, and therefore collectively we create a healthier society in mind, body and spirit. And that's what drives me every single day. It's the sole driver of why I do what I do and why I love our industry so well, why I love the job you do so much. So that's why we're here. So let's just stop this and answer some questions before I ramble. I know I'm an Irishman. I've kissed the brownie stone way too much, and I'm probably talking way too much already. Okay, let's just have a look at the Q&A and see what questions we have. Screen sharing has stopped as shared window is closed. Yeah, I know that. Thank you, Zoom, for letting me know that. And let's just have a look at some Q&A. I'm gonna have to put on my eyes here, guys, so I can see these a little bit better. Hello from Dallas. Hi, Ron. Good to see you. Oh, April. Oh, we've loads of BSA people on tonight. Good to see you here, guys. Caroline, can I join if I'm not in a photography business? Yes, you can, Caroline. The principles are the same regardless of the business. So of course you can join us. You're very welcome. A lot of the examples we use are photography related, but they can be adopted and tweaked for any business. Nathan asks, is this a more a studio portrait and wedding and starting a corporate area after this COVID disaster? Nathan, no, it's relevant to anything. So it's relevant to a lot of our clients currently are portrait photographers, but the principles apply to everyone. We have some people in there who are wedding photographers. This applies to commercial as well. The principles of attracting your ideal client are the same. So we talked a little bit earlier, didn't we, about using LinkedIn if it's headshots or commercial. So the principles can be used to anything. Are you providing the funnel platform or do you recommend another platform? Good question, Jill. So no, we don't supply any software that builds the funnels out, the funnel pages and stuff. So some photographers choose to build it themselves. And we do recommend some softwares too, if you're not already using those, that can help with that and make it easy. But at the end of the day, that's down to you as to what you choose. And we do recommend some because our mentors use one particular software because they found it the best. But some people prefer to build their own and WordPress or whatever, so you can do whatever you want. And the advantage of using the software we recommend is the funnels we create as templates, where you can just literally copy and paste with a couple of clicks of a button, and you have it in your software, and then you can just fill in your details, you know, the necessary photographs that represent your photography and stuff. So that can save you a lot of time and effort too. So hopefully that's answered your question. Okay, so we've got, you're welcome, Nathan. So I'm glad you got that. So Monica says, Donald Miller, Story Brand, read it. Absolutely, it's a great read. I spent a lot of time with Donald. I'm a Story Brand certified guide too. So it is really good, and there's good principles in there. It's not the be end and end all on its own, never is. But it does help you understand the key principle of your client being the hero and you being the guide. That's the key message in there. Kim says, what's the cost? So the cost of being a BSA member, great question, Kim. It's free for the first 14 days. After the first 14 days, then it's $49 a month to be a member. And I think the members will tell you that the value is far above that. We've had massive feedback. And you can, as a $49 member of BSA, you can cancel at any time. April loves my analogies. Thank you, April. There's a story about coming out again, isn't it? And Marnie, good to see you. Looking forward to having you in the think tank soon, Marnie. I know people will learn so much from you. You're a really, really brilliant marketeer and photographer and business person too. So I think, guys, it's down to me just to share the link with you as to if you are interested in signing up, and then I'll check back for some other questions. And once I find this, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. I should have had the link ready to go. But I had a few technical issues earlier with connecting with Facebook, and I had it copied and ready to go, and then I had to go and then copy another link, and then of course I lost it as a result of that. But I'll have it here now for you in 2 seconds. So if you are interested in joining us for a 14-day free trial, there's nothing there, you're not committing to anything. Then I'm going to share that for you there. Please join us. We would love to see you. So we have a webinar as a member every single Wednesday. So we'd love to see you at tomorrow's webinar if you do join us now. And at the 14-day free trial, we're not going to keep forever either. So if you can I'm going to put it in here as well, because you're asking in the chat and you've been commenting in the Q&A. So I think I put it both in there. If you're on Facebook straight after this, I will post the link in the comments under Facebook. Okay, so any more questions? Come on, there has to be some questions. Please, somebody ask me a question. Any more questions? Can you estimate the other costs involved? Adverts on platform. Great question, Jill. So the software costs will cost you roughly $99 a month if you use either piece of software, maybe, and then depending on whether you already have an email platform, which can help massively, it might be $150 a month. The costs on Facebook then, so we have our clients who are generating bookings. When you saw some of the examples I said a little bit earlier, here's the thing. If you've got the rest of your business right and your pricing and you're getting the right averages, Facebook and marketing using Facebook is a no-brainer. It really isn't. Like, there's people on Facebook, if we take Jonathan, one of our mentors, so he does a lot of marketing for their clients. And Jonathan would typically, if he sells a product for another client at $100, he's spending $50 on Facebook to make that sale per client. If his cost of advertising was up to $80, now his margin's gone from $50 to $20. For the photographers who are doing this, you're not on those sort of margins. You have massive margins by comparison for the photographers who do this right. So really, yes, at times we see costs going up a little bit for leads and bookings. But so now, for example, with the election on the US, ad costs go up a little bit, but that happens. But for photographers, it's not a problem with the margins you do if you have everything else right in your business and your pricing right and everything else. The other thing that is often overlooked is, quite often I hear photographers saying, "Oh, the photographer down the road is giving away for nothing." The photographer down the road who's giving away for nothing won't do this. They won't have the time, resources, or ability to do this because they won't, and this will distinguish you in the market. Because remember that the key thing, you're attracting clients into your world before they even realize they need your service and offering. That's what this does. Okay. Rob says, good info. Are these slides available later? Name of author again, please. Never Lose a Customer. Joey Coleman is Never Lose a Customer Again. Great book, Joey Coleman. Again, I tell you what, if you're not a member of 3XM Insiders or Photography Think Tank, I will do join one of them, and I will post a link to each book I've mentioned tonight. So I think I've mentioned 3, haven't I? I've Brand Now by Nick Westergaard, we've Story Round by Donald Miller, and we've Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. So I will post a link to all those 3 for you. Okay, so I don't think there's any more questions. We've gone over by 8 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've learned something from this webinar. Please feel free at any stage to ask me any question. We are there to help you succeed. Your success is our success. And we really want to work together to create a healthier society in mind, body, and spirit. Bye for now. See you all soon. Hopefully I'll see you in BSA in the next 24 hours longest. So act now, don't wait. See you soon.